Hey guys, what's up? Drakos here with a video taking a look at one of the more interesting options in the new Runes Reforged. Now, it's no surprise that it's going to be in the Inspiration Tree. There's so much weird stuff going on here between the debt, all the exotic options, I think I'm going to call them, but today we're going to be focusing on one in particular, and that is Hextech Flashtraption, aka Hex Flash. We're going to take a look at what Hex Flash does, its applications in game, and some ideas on which champions can actually utilize it the best. Now, the rune Hextech Flashtraption gives you access to the ability Hex Flash whenever your regular Flash is on cooldown. Hex Flash is a weaker version of Flash that allows a similar blink with some pretty major restrictions. Hex Flash, first off, has a channel time of 2 seconds. Now, it cannot be used in combat with champions. That means you cannot hit or be hit. Engaging in combat will stop the channel, and then whether you're channeling or not, any form of combat is going to put Hex Flash on a 10-second cooldown. Keep in mind the overall cooldown is only 20 seconds, so this isn't a crazy big deal, but it is very easy to interrupt. Now, it's important to note that combat with minions and monsters are not going to trigger the cooldown or stop the channel. Not going to be the biggest game-breaking thing, but it does mean that you can aggro a camp and still port over a wall if that is what you decide to do. It's also important to note that Hex Flash does not require you to set Inspiration as your primary path. Inspiration is a very weird tree, and there's a lot of champions who do not want to use it as it doesn't provide a lot of raw stats, so you are still free to take Domination or whichever else you would like without really making a major. Now, applications. Pretty much the only way you gain mobility from a 2-second channel in this case is by going over walls. Trust me, if you use it to chase, you look like an asshole. But maybe it's good for BM. Maybe there's some disrespectful thing you can do with it. Who knows? You guys are much more creative than I. Now, Hex Flash does allow you to get over most walls quite easily. The channel allowing you to point and click also, I would say, makes it easier than regular Flash in regards to getting over some of those trickier walls. The two best ways I've seen to apply this are either maneuvering around vision via some creative pathing when roaming between lanes, or using it to engage on unsuspecting foes. Now, the creative pathing part is pretty easy. If you have knowledge where their vision, you can kind of duck around wards to get a really successful gank off or successful roam. Engages, on the other hand, are a little bit trickier. The key word here is unsuspecting. They have to be unsuspecting. You are basically one auto away from getting that channel canceled. It's pretty key that the enemy does not know you are coming, and you really need them to stay in one area, because ultimately once you start the channel, they can easily just walk away and your entire engage can be fumbled. So it's really best to use this around static objectives. This means blue buff or red buff, towers, or objectives like dragon and baron, somewhere where you know the enemy is locked into an area for a reasonable amount of time, and if they don't know you're coming, they really have no reason to back away from that wall. Expect the Hex Flash to come over. Now let's talk about how we put this into practice. Ultimately, both the pathing and engage ideas I listed before are really only going to be strong on champions who do not already have those options built into their kit. Champions like Lee Sin, J4, Bard, Kayn, Rek'Sai, etc., etc. These guys already have those options built in. You could still take Hex Flash on them, but it might be a bit of a waste given that you could get more effective combat stats in a different tree. One champion, however, who benefits heavily from this, one champion without dashes, is going to be Skarner. He loves to use Hex Flash. Great way to find engages, great way to use creative pathing. You're asking yourself, who plays Skarner? I only know one person. It's Captain Flowers, and he's a dirty one-trick. But maybe after you take a look at this, after you take a look at the build path and try Hex Flash out for yourself, that you will want to play Skarner too. So we're going to start off by picking Domination. You're going to utilize the Predator Keystone. It's a good way to keep movement speed steroid in your kit. I'm not 100% sure if the long cooldown is worth it yet, but I did find a lot of success with it as a way to efficiently close the gap on a champion who otherwise lacks a dash. Now you're going to follow up with Cheap Shot, Zombie Ward, and Ravenous Hunter. It's going to give you a mix of sustained damage and vision. Now our secondary path, of course, is going to be Inspiration. We're going to take Hextech Flashtraption along with Approach Velocity to further help close the gap. Approach Velocity, I think it's pretty debatable. I'm not sure actually how good it is. I have not tested enough, but feel free to experiment with Futures Market if you want to try the debt mechanic, or Cosmic Insight for just that flat cooldown reduction that Skarner does really love to have. Now, be prepared to look super dumb the first few times you use Hex Flash. Remember that it is a channel, so you have to hold down the button. Not something that you are normally used to if you're not an avid Galio player. But don't worry, it's only a 20-second cooldown, so you are going to be able to have a chance to figure it out before the end of your first game. Of course, there are plenty of champions outside of Skarner who do not have those reliable dashes to get over walls. Pretty much all of them are going to use Hex Flash well. In the jungle, Warwick, Shyvana, Hecarim, Rammus, even Fiddlesticks likes this. Outside of Crowstorm, it's good to have a way to leap over the wall and just immediately fear silence. Great use of CC. Engage supports, who also enjoy roaming, can use Hex Flash quite well as well. So Alistair, Leona, and Thresh, definitely champions you're going to want to try this on. And then there are additionally some assassins and mid laners who may want to have this dash, even if they already have one in their kit. Akali and Diana, for example, need an enemy target to be able to dash reliably. So sometimes being able to blink over the wall with Hex Flash, then immediately use Mark of the Assassin and Shadow Dance in the case of Akali to do burst damage can be very good, and the element of surprise really can throw a lot of opponents off. Tanks like Galio or Maokai, regardless of where you're playing them, can definitely make it work, but keep in mind you can't actually channel Galio's taunt and Hex Flash at the same time. Trust me, I tried. Just about every way possible. It doesn't work. It makes me sad. All right, but probably not broken. So hey, balance. Let me know what you guys are trying out and how it works for you. There's so much depth in Runes Reforged, at least I'd like to think there is. And I've only really just started to scratch the surface. There just hasn't been enough time for me to try everything. And if you want to share your findings, share with me what you think is cool. Maybe I can try it out too. Feel free to leave a comment below or reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram. I'll be looking to make a few more videos before EULCS gets kicked off, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one.